I'd like to welcome everybody to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 at 3 p.m. Madam Clerk, we have all 5 commissioners in attendance, our county finance officer, our county attorney, and our county manager, Madam Clerk. I would like to remind everyone to please silence your mobile devices. And any speakers that come to the lectern, please make sure that the red light comes on so those folks that watching on YouTube can hear what you have to say. And Madam Clerk, I do want to say that it feels like a new room in here. If y'all haven't noticed, we got new carpet and new wall coverings over there, so it looks fantastic. And it's
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got that new carpet smell. So, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, our first item is approval of the agenda. You've had the agenda to review. What's the pleasure of the?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in favor of approval of the agenda signify with uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to our third item on the agenda, presentations. Is Caitlin here? Or Kay, will you? This is for Pet of the Month. This will be presented by Kay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the boards, members of the audience. I'm filling in for Caitlin Settlemeyer, the Animal Services Director. She will be here with our Dog and Cat of the Month at the regular meeting. She is tied up at the shelter today. I would like to remind folks that on November 12th, if you're a veteran, your adoption fees are sponsored at the Animal Services Center if you would like to adopt a pet, and they are also reduced for the general public as well. So free for veterans, reduced for the general public during National Shelter Appreciation Week, but on Veterans Day, November 12th, we're closed on November 11th, but on the 12th, it's free for veterans.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, comments, questions for Kay? There being none, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. We'll move on to item number 2, presentation of responsible pet ownership education video in recognition of personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the audience. I am the president of the Animal Services Foundation. It's a nonprofit created to support the county animal shelter. The foundation received a grant from the Roston Foundation for responsible pet ownership. I approached the Western Piedmont Council, Western Piedmont Community College for their assistance in developing some training videos that the staff can show to repeat offenders that violate the county's animal ordinances, and just generally educate members of the public on how to be a responsible pet owner and comply with the county's ordinance. Staff from Western Piedmont and some students hopefully will be here at the regular meeting. We're going to show you a promo video, and representatives from Van Alpen Marketing will be here also because they are helping us within this collaborative project, and I hope that you will be pleased.
Thank you, Kay. Gentlemen, questions, comments? Yes, sir. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. We'll move on to item number 3 under presentations, recognition of Miss Morganton Festival Scholarship Pageant winners.
I'm filling in for Miss Michelle Gregory. She is the director of the Miss Morganton Festival Pageant, and we will once again have royalty in our midst. The queens and princesses of the Miss Morganton Festival will be here at the regular meeting for you guys to meet and recognize.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, questions, comments? All right, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. This brings us to item number 4, proclamation declaring November 30th as One Burke Gives Day in Burke County, presented by Abigail Taylor, Burke County United Way Marketing and Campaign Manager.
Hey,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I did notice the 30th is actually incorrect. It should be the 29th.
29th?
It might have been our mistake.
Okay.
But it should be the 29th.
Duly noted.
And that is because every year it will change. One Gives Giving Day is falls on Giving Tuesday every single year, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And so this year is our third year doing this, and we're very excited because within 2 years, the first year we raised together as a community with 30 nonprofits participating in fundraising. We raised $50,000 the first year together, and then that doubled the next year. So we're hoping for even bigger numbers to support our nonprofits that participate this year. So far we have more than 20 participating, and hoping to have a lot more come through the next few days. The other thing I just wanted to mention is One Bird Gives is an online virtual fundraising website. So anyone at any time during the 24-hour span of the 29th can go to onebirdgives.org and give to as many nonprofits as they want to, or just one. And so not only that, they'll be able to get on there and share, as well as participate in helping nonprofits win prizes, helping nonprofits get up on a leaderboard. It'll be sort of a gamification of getting nonprofits donations. Yeah, do we have any questions for me about that?
Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, how much did we raise last year? What's the target we got to beat this year? We'd like to beat this year.
Sure. Last year, we raised in all $104,000. That was spread between 29 nonprofits. Our goal this year is to raise that by at least 10%. So hopefully we'll surpass that.
Good deal.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Fantastic what you're doing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very much.
Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. We'll move on to item number 5, finance update for the period ending September 30th, 2022, presented by Ed Phillips, our TDA director.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today is November 1st. Yesterday was the end of October. Let me tell you, it was a record October for tourism in Burke County. The leaves, by most account, were the best they've been, and beautiful in many, many, many years. We ran trolley tours last week and the week before, 7 days a week. So our trolley was leaving Morganton, going up the mountain to Linville Falls Winery, the Christmas shop up there, and then back by the Brown Mountain Overlook and back into Morganton. And we had folks come from all over North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, far away as Jacksonville, Florida. It was a very successful campaign and brings people to Burke County, so that's what we're all about. Our financial report for the period that ended September 30th. So we have an annual budget of revenue, occupancy tax revenue of $750,000. For the first month, July, and you have to remember we're always 2 months behind in collection, we collected $106,862. I can also tell you that July, August, and September set new records for occupancy tax. That's not all reflected here, but will be in future reports. Expenses are in line. Trolley revenue, which goes through September 30th, we had a line item for the whole year of $7,500, and we've already beat that in the first 3 months, so we're doing really well on that. On the balance sheet, which is the next page, as of September 30th, we had $711,000 roughly in the bank. There are liabilities payable to the city of Morgan and the town of Valdez for their portion of the occupancy tax that they have not drawn down yet. So liabilities totals $128,000, which leaves us with $624,739 as a retained earning. We're in good financial position. Our audit will be completed shortly. I think Margaret and I just got a final bill from them, and we'll have the audit here shortly, which we'll distribute to you guys as soon as that comes in.
Gentlemen, questions comments for Ed?
Mr. Chairman, I might ask one, item number 41, you're showing miscellaneous income 44,500. What is that?
So most of that is, we have Our State Magazine co-op advertising program where we actually buy the space and then we sell ads in it to Burke County businesses. And so most of that revenue will come back to us as a miscellaneous income item for that ad.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Ed, on the trolley tours, what percentage is repeat customers?
Oh, we had a lot of repeats this year. So we've started these tours in fall of 2016. So we've been running 6 years, and I would say we had probably, I don't know, 20% is a rough guess of repeats from previous years. People come, they didn't get the dates they wanted last year, so they signed up early to get a better date, maybe in their eyes. They brought friends and family with them. We had large groups this year. We had church groups and we had a group of ladies from Lake Norman called the Golden Girls that came up, and they rented the trolley for a whole day, and then they split their group in half. Half of them stayed in town, shopped around, while the other half went on a tour. Then in the afternoon, we switched, flip-flopped them, and came back, and so that was productive. We had a church group from out of town come in. I believe they were also from Mooresville area. Charlotte, you may have seen in the paper today, we're starting to do a lot of research on where our folks are coming from to visit Burke County. And we already know Charlotte's area, the greater Charlotte market's our #1 market. And so we get a lot of folks come here for that. And that reflects on our trolley tours as well.
Ed, thank you. Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item number 6, introduction of new emergency communications director, this week presented by our county manager, Brian Steen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I introduce to you Heather Joyner. She comes to us with about 20 years of experience as a 911 director, and I think she is taking to it like a rabbit in a briar patch. And we are very happy to have her here, and appreciate staff during the interim stepping up and doing what needed to be done to get us through until Heather could arrive. And Heather, if you want to chat with them or say anything or take questions, have fun.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. Looking forward to the growth and the co-creation of what I'm bringing here to Burke County, and look forward to working with all of you. And I have to say the support of the county manager and the management team have been phenomenal. My internal team, Chris, Terry, and Allie have just done a tremendous, wonderful job in the interim process, and could not ask for any better. I think I expressed to you guys, it's like Christmas, you open up gifts every day, and that's kind of how I've been feeling since I've been here. So I know we have a few challenges and we have a few things to work through, but I'm very dedicated, and we're going to make things, we're going to co-create it together. So thank you. Any questions?
Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. This will bring us to item number 4 on our agenda, scheduled public hearings, DDI reuse grant for Project Phil. This will be presented by Alan Wood. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back and see you gentlemen again. Appreciate the opportunity. We have a building reuse grant calling Project Phil. This is a $500,000 grant, 78 plus new jobs, averaging $48,900 per. That's 120% of our current county average. As you realize, we never bring one to you if they're not at least matching the county average wage, and they will also provide health insurance for their employees. This is an upfit of a current building plus additional square feet to their footprint. The city of Morganton has approved their match on this. They did it at their last meeting. The capital investment on this is roughly $70 million. This will be in front of the Rural Infrastructure Authority on December the 8th, and that's when we would anticipate approval. We think this is a really good project, and we hope to see them continue to grow and prosper in Burke County.
Gentlemen, any questions, comments for Alan? You're always bringing good news, so thank you. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. That'll move us to item number 5, consent agenda, presentation of financial data for period ending September 30th, 2022 by our good friend Sandy Holman. How are you?
I'm good. I hope you are all. Good afternoon. I'm going to first start with a recap of 2022, just for your information. Our final state budget was $16,624,196, which was we spent 92% of. That left $1,371,487, of which we could carry forward a majority of this because it was in our budget stabilization funds. We did have some categorical funding that we had excess in, most of which was carried forward as well into fiscal year 23. Our county funds for fiscal year 22, we spent $2,666,520 out of $2,652,110, so we were over just a slight bit at 100.5%. So for the fiscal year 2023, I want to give a summary of our first quarter through September 30th, 2022. And as usual, the first 3 columns are our state funds. We have received the state budget this year with our baseline budget of $14,014,839 with additional allocations of $2,383,418 for a total state budget through September at $16,398,257, of which we've spent $3,648,424, or 22.2%, which is average for what we do in the first quarter of a new fiscal year. It doesn't include any items that are encumbered, so these are actual expenditures through September 30th. The majority of the other allocations that you see listed below include the budget stabilization funds that we had received from the state to help with the decline due to COVID, and then other additional allocations for grants and special projects and other funds. These funds are generally considered non-recurring because they are grants or special allocations through the year, and so that's why they come to us separately. The next 3 columns are our county budget, which through September 30th, our county budget is $2,696,610, which we've utilized, make sure I'm at the right spot here, 34.9% of our budget through September 30th. This is higher than normal, but we had some projects that were ongoing at the end of the fiscal year, and then salaries and benefit increases did cause that to be a little higher than what you see normal in normal years. The final 3 columns are our institutional budget, which is budgeted at $6,371,479, which includes student financial aid, grants, self-supporting courses, and our bookstore, just to name a few. We are utilizing the remainder of any of our CARES and American Recovery Plan grant funds, and most of the items that are in institutional are restricted in nature as to what we can use those funds for. But student aid and the bookstore usually count for close to 90% of the expenditures. Total combined college budget for fiscal year 23 is $25,466,346, which we've expended $7,109,631, which is 27.9% of our college budget. The next slide shows the breakdown of expenditure categories for county expenditures for your benefit. The major expenditure categories include salaries and benefits at 20%, contracted services at 10%, transfers, which usually go into either transfers for matching for our supplemental education SEOG program, which is financial assistance, or for capital projects that we have to maintain separately, is at 24%, and then utilities at 17%. So those are our top categories for fiscal year 23 in the first quarter. Are there any questions that I can answer for the commissioners?
Gentlemen, questions, comments?
2 questions, Mr. Chairman. Give us an update on enrollment and the Skilled Trade Center as second.
So the enrollment for the fall semester was down from what we had anticipated and hoped for. We're down about 3% total for curriculum. Our Con Ed and basic skills is actually up slightly from where it had been in previous years. Coming out of COVID has definitely helped. We feel like our Con Ed can definitely increase more, and we're concentrating on a lot of our workforce development programs and short-term certificates. That's where we feel like growth is. We did start our spring registration this past Monday, and so we're watching that closely as well to tell how that's going to go for the next fiscal year, because obviously we're funded in arrears, so what we do now will affect that. But our budget stabilization funds are helping us through this decline that we've had in enrollment, and also the CARES Act money that we've been able to draw down lost revenues, so that will help in next fiscal year. But we are still watching that closely because curriculum enrollment is down slightly. The skilled trades building is going along nicely. We're at about 46% completion. Our anticipated completion date is still May of 2023. Knock on some wood. The long-term or lead time items was the electrical panel, which the designers and engineers have come up with some solutions that we're able to get that in on time, so we should still be on track to have the building complete in May, be able to stock it up, get it ready inside for hopefully some spring summer camps or summer camps in the summer, and then fall enrollment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I got one more question. Skilled Trade Center, I think we'd all agree that it was kind of geared for males. How is this center going to touch females?
That is an excellent question. We are looking at a lot of different ways. Our Vice President for Academic Affairs and Workforce Development, along with our instructor, full-time instructor in construction, and 2 of our students who are female, actually went to a conference earlier this year in Charlotte that was for women in construction. We're working with some folks that are local to Burke County, a licensed electrician that actually works out of Conley Springs, to see what are some things that she can give as far as perspectives from the female area, and just looking at all different types of enrollment mechanisms that we can do in urban cities at work that we could also pull down into the rural counties as well and reach those students. But we do have at least 2 students who are female in the program, and they are enjoying the program and doing very, very well.
That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Sir. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, just one, Sandy, nothing we can do about it but take note of it. But the insurance and utility combined is still running us almost 1/3 of your budget. And I don't know, I was hoping with some of the new insurance and competitiveness in that market would bring that price down some, but it doesn't seem to be.
With the percentages, it's a percentage through the first quarter, and we do pay our insurance annually in September, with usually a start date of October 1st for most all of our policies. And so you have a large chunk of funding that goes out in the first quarter for insurance, but as we get more expenses through the year, then that percentage of total cost will go down. Utilities, unfortunately, that is still one of our top 3 categories that we have for our county budget. It will remain in the top 3, probably by the end of the year, being around 24%, 20 to 24%.
If I'm a student there, do I pay a part of that insurance, et cetera, et cetera?
That the county funding pays, that would be for property insurance, workers' compensation for our county-funded employees,
So it's
and
mostly
vehicles.
employees.
Yeah, so students do not pay a part of that insurance.
Yeah, thank you.
And Sandy, across the 58 college community college system, where do we kind of fall? Because I know FTE's down a little bit, but that's across the board. So when we do a comparative analysis of like institution size-wise, we're pretty much fall in the middle, do we not?
We have historically fallen in the middle, but if you remember several years ago, we had a really huge chunk of our basic skills FTE that went away due to federal regulations. And so now we're somewhere between 39th and 40th, 41 in size when you look at budgeted FTE numbers.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, gentlemen? Sandy, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Well, gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Brings us to item number 2, Burke County Public Schools, presentation of financial data for the period ending September 30th, 2022. And I don't see Keith.
I've reached out to him. I'll let you know if I hear from him.
I'm sorry?
I've reached out to him. I'll let you know if I hear from him.
Okay. Well, we may circle back around, and if he does arrive, we will come back to that item. That moves us to item number 3, Partners Health Management Reports, presented by Dr. Katie Varnado, Partners Health Management. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Hopefully you had a good Halloween. So this is a little bit of a bittersweet presentation for me because it's my last presentation to you guys. I don't know that you all are aware, but I grew up in Burke County, so it's been really impactful and powerful to me to be able to work alongside you all and making a difference for the community that I grew up in. So I appreciate all of your work and your commitment to behavioral health and addressing the needs of the people that live here. So with that being said, I'll move into the presentation, and what I have for you here today is our year-end statement for the year ending June 30th of 2022, and then the first quarter statement for this fiscal year. So the first couple of slides go together. They're on separate slides, but I really want to make the point of looking at the cost of people served compared to the number of people served. So this is for the whole year, fiscal year 21-22, the amount of Medicaid and non-Medicaid dollars that went into the treatment of individuals with behavioral health needs. So you can see those numbers there, and on the next slide is the actual number of people served. So you can see the cost compared to the amount of people served. And one powerful number there that you see on the end is the number of people served with substance use diagnoses. So you can see that 289 individuals with Medicaid were served. And if you look at the previous slide, that amounted to $1.3 million. So putting those two slides together can give you a good idea about the cost of treatment and the complexity of needs of a lot of the individuals that we're serving. So the next slide is our final expense report for 21-22, and you can see the different line items that we allocated the funding for last year. One addition to that we made at the end was the addition of correctional behavioral health. They came in and started contracting for services in the jail. So they were added as a line item there towards the end of the year, and then you'll see in our upcoming slides the funding allocations for this year. So funded programs for 22-23, we have funded the System of Care Collaboratives, and that's a group of community members, providers, and advocates that come together once a month to talk about the continuum of care for people with behavioral health needs. And they get together and come up with a plan for the funding that the county allocates for that. And traditionally, they've supported the recovery rally, but they have the option to look at the needs and gaps in the community and put together programs, education and awareness events, and different projects that would address some of those short-term and long-term needs. We have consumer reserves for IDD and mental health and substance use, and those are what I like to call Band-Aid funds. So if we have a person that is coming to one of our community partners like DSS or the United Way, those partnerships have the ability to reach out to us and use that funding to help people stay housed, to help them with an emergency behavioral health need, to help them with transportation. So there are a lot of flexibility around those funds, but it's to prevent and help see a person through a crisis. Whole person transitional care, this is an internal group that works with DJJ and with DSS to help individuals and youth transition from DJJ programs back into the community. So our jail services, and this is a new one, correctional behavioral health. We have been working with the jail and correctional behavioral health and Catawba Valley Health to create a support system both inside and outside the jail. So correctional behavioral health is coming in and they're doing mental health clinics and covering mental health assessments to help the administrator meet the guidelines in the state regulations that he has. substance use services in jail is covered by Catawba Valley Healthcare, and so they do the substance use treatment component. And we've met and formed a treatment team model so that they can all staff together when they have a client that's receiving services from the different agencies. And that also helps support their transition back out into the community. The MOORS program is provided by CVBH. It is also a crisis service that supports families that are having behavioral health crisis, and they use that in tandem with mobile crisis. We have an embedded therapist through a collaboration with DSS, and that therapist works to offer case management support to the caseworkers, and does assessments and is on site to offer their help through clinical counseling. The behavioral health medication assistance is through Good Sam Clinic, and I actually have a statement that they asked me to read to you guys. So first, thank you all for being able to provide this assistance for Burke County residents who are uninsured. The past 2 years have been challenging mentally for many, and your support has made it easier for us to continue to provide quality care for our patients. Not only supplying them with mental health prescriptions, but also taking care of their comorbid illnesses such as diabetes, hypertension, asthma, congestive heart failure, and many others. In 2021, we served 214 mental health patients and filled over 1,000 prescriptions for these patients. Not a single patient that was a part of Good Samaritan Clinic went without needed mental health medication because they could not afford it. So on behalf of Good Sam Clinic, thank you for that. And so our next slide is support groups for NAMI, and they offer an open support group for anyone that needs that interaction with a collaborative group. That they talk about mental health resources, substance use resources, and they offer that peer-to-peer component. Anyone is welcome to come into these groups. And then we have housing reserves and case management that Partners provides. And so that housing reserve is also that Band-Aid fund where if someone's about to lose their home, we can step in and offer assistance there to prevent that. And the case management is an additional support to keep that person housed in a stable environment. And then the last slide is our first quarter of expenses. So that is line by line of all of those different services and programs that we are funding for this fiscal year. And so do you guys have any questions about that before I give you a little bit of a tailored plan update?
Gentlemen, any questions so far? Comments?
Mr. Chairman. Katie, going back to maybe your second and third slides, I'm looking at the intellectual development disabilities. If I did the math right, it looks like we're spending about $75,000 per client. Can you just give us some rough idea of what kinds of things are we paying for with that $75,000?
So are you asking specifically about the intellectual and developmental disabilities line item?
Yes.
So that population of people has a lot of complex needs, and that includes therapy from speech therapy. We have the money that goes toward their treatment. It covers a vast array of things that support them and their families. And the amount of money that's spent does speak to the complexity of the need. So Partners, especially as we're moving toward tailored plan and looking at whole person wellness, that will likely continue to increase as we're providing more supports through physical health and pharmacy. So our mission is to cover all of the needs of this population with those needs, if that makes sense.
Would those funds include housing for some of those folks, institutionalized type setting, or not?
It just depends on what their recommendations are in their assessment. So if they receive an assessment and it's recommended that they have placement somewhere residential, then we would look at qualifying them for that, and if Medicaid covers it. Also, a neat thing that's going on in Burke County is the Healthy Opportunities Pilot. So that is coming from the state, and it looks to address those social determinants of health, like housing. So we would be able to contract with providers to provide housing, or not just providers, but helping services organizations that do this type of work. They would essentially be able to bill Medicaid for it.
Gentlemen, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, these numbers that she gave us are for Burke County. So what is the entire package for mental health these days? What is their total budget for all the counties?
For all the counties, for all of the Medicaid expenditures, I will have to get back to you on that if that's okay.
It's okay, just curious, just analyzing within myself how much have grown since we've been a part of the mental health conglomerate, if you want to call it.
And it's a, you know, you can look at it either way. You can look at the increase in cost and the increase in people served as we're getting more people involved in treatment, and hopefully in a timely way that prevents them from going into a crisis. So on one hand, the cost is a good thing. It's a sign that we are making an impact in getting people in treatment and reducing some of that stigma around accessing services.
Any other comments, gentlemen?
So my last comments to you all are about the delay of tailored plan launch. We were set to get started with that December 1st was our original go live date. The state has pushed that back until April of next year. So we will have some services that go live December 1st. And the biggest piece of tailored plan is actually the care management piece. That will still go live December 1st. All of the rest of it will go live in April of next year. So we're working to build up the provider networks and actually the IT infrastructure to make sure that that will support all of the people that we're serving when we do go live. And that's across the state, not just with partners.
Comments, questions? Well, thank you. Wish you
Thank
well
you.
in your future endeavor.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Well, without objection, gentlemen, this item will remain on the consent agenda. That'll move us on to item number 4 on our consent agenda. This will be presented by our clerk, and this is to appointment to Child Protection, Child Fatality Prevention Team. I think I got it all said correctly.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public. This is a request to appoint Kathy Smith to the Child Protection, Child Fatality Prevention Team, seat number 3, which represent a parent with a child under the age of 18, to complete the remainder of a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2025, and grant an exception to the residency provision of the Burke County Code of Ordinances, Section 2-88, residency.
Questions, gentlemen? And without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 5, reappointments to the Voluntary Agricultural Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to reappoint Barry Clark, seat number 3, Farming, Josh Pless, seat number 5 at large. I'm sorry, that was seat number 4 at large. Doug Pitts, seat number 5, Farming, Evan Crawley, the Soil and Water nominee, and Bruce Sis, seat number 7, also Farming, to the Voluntary Agriculture Board to complete the remainder of 4-year terms ending August 31st, 2026.
Gentlemen, questions, comments? There being none, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This brings us to item number 6, DSS, approval of renewal contract with Veritas HHS LLC, presented by Corey Fisher-Wellman, our DSS Director. Corey, how are you today, sir?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Good.
So we're here to request a renewal of the child support contract with Veritas. We initially initiated this contract, I believe, in 2019. It was a 3-year term that gave the option for 2 additional 1-year terms. So we're at the end of that first 3-year term. So I've got a couple people I want to introduce as well, because I think they might have more to say than maybe I do. But this is Amanda Grady, who's our Administrator of Economic Services at DSS. And Megan Roper is also here from Veritas. So I guess from DSS's standpoint, I would just say we certainly have nothing but good things to say about our relationship with Veritas. We think it's been very beneficial to the citizens. It's been very beneficial to us, and we would certainly like to continue that relationship. And we're happy to answer any questions about the process that you guys might have.
Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just comment as representing this board on the DSS board that when we went down this trail, it was a little scary, but I want to thank these guys for making everything happen. And it has been a very positive experience, and we're pleased with what's happening with this relationship.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
None.
All right, well, thanks for all y'all do.
Thank you, guys.
And without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. We'll move on to item number 7, request for approval of written agreement between Home Trust Bank and Brindletown Fire Protection and Rescue Association, Inc., presented by Mike Willis, our fire marshal. Mike, how are you, sir?
Good, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is the same agreement that y'all has been before you several times with different fire departments. Brindletown Fire and Rescue is purchasing a new truck to add to their fleet and replace some. It's just much needed based on their district. So they have entered into this agreement between Home Trust, and part of that is your blessing on the letter saying that they're in good standing with the county financially. We have from Brindletown, we have Mr. Brian Williams, board secretary, and Mr. Glenn McCurry, who is the treasurer of their board, if you have any specific questions about him.
Gentlemen, questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, the only question I have, Mike, will this necessitate a tax increase for that department? Or
No,
the
sir.
county?
No,
Well,
sir.
no. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Mike, what's the backlog on getting equipment?
You've already got the truck, correct? It's already here.
Okay, good. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Moving on to item number 8, General Services Train USA contract for controls and UV air purification, presented by our good friend Mark Delahunt, General Services Director. Mark, how are you, sir?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. General Services building, this building was renovated back in 2003, and in the spring of 2021, we replaced 6 of the 9 HVAC units. As a result, the newer units are now running off a control system that is nearly 20 years old. If we did have a problem with the controls, it would be nearly impossible to find replacement components. This project also includes UV air purification system, and this will be the first county building to have that. I would like to thank the commissioners for approving the funds for this project as part of last year's budget. But due to the cost, I'm requesting that the board authorize the county manager to execute the contract documents on behalf of the board. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions, comments for Mark?
Was this included in this year's budget?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. No other question?
Any others, gentlemen? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Without objection, then, gentlemen, this item will remain on the consent agenda. We'll move on to item number 9, Tax Department Tax Collection Report for 2022, presented by John Bridgers, our tax administrator.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Afternoon.
Members of the board. For the month of, month of October, through October, we've collected $33,669,073.86, which is 73.51% of our annual budget, leaving us with $12,130,926.14 left to collect. I don't have figures for motor tax, vehicle tax. That system is down all across the state, and so unfortunately I can't get those figures for you. Delinquent taxes, we have collected $348,081.29, which is 49.73% of the budgeted amount, leaving us with $351,918.71 left to collect of delinquent taxes. Late listing penalty, we have collected $99,612.17, which is 31.62% of budget amount, leaving us with $215,387.83 left to collect. The overall tax levy is $47,870,633.95. We have collected of that $33,669,073.86, which is a 70.43% of our overall budget, leaving us with $14,138,560.09 left to collect. Any questions?
Thank you, John. Any questions, comments? There being none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 10, release refund report for October 2022.
Release and refund, the overall report is $88,762.01. Of that amount, we rebilled $76,954.95 with a net release of $11,807.06, and there were no refunds.
Gentlemen, any questions, comments? All right, John, thank you, sir. Without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. This moves us on to item number 6, which is items for decision, the award of construction bids for the Jonas Ridge Convenience Site. This will be presented by Mr. Steen or Mr. Oh, okay.
They did all the hard work. I'm just here to help if I can.
Welcome back, Mark.
Yes, thank you again. Scott, if you would, I have a slide I'd like you to put up. Last Friday, October 28th, 2 bids were received for the construction of the new Jonas Ridge Convenience Site. The low bidder was a contractor from right here in Morganton by the name of Fox Built Construction in the amount of $1,324,600. The design includes a well and a septic system that'll be large enough to accommodate the restroom for a future community center, park, and walking trail. Equipment such as compactors and recycling boxes, which you'll see in the diagram up there, were not included in the bid. The equipment needed for this project includes 3 compactors, 4 receiver boxes, 2 30-yard open-top boxes for metal recycling, which based on a recent quote will cost $115,000. Additionally, I'm requesting contingency for this project in the amount of $100,000. We hope no contingency will be needed. We would like to have some additional funds, however, available so we can keep this project moving forward. The suggested motion will need to be modified to include funding options for the equipment and contingency. Now I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Gentlemen, questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mark, you'll be coming back later for monies for parks, is that, or a future park, or what's on tap there?
Yes, this project was designed with that as a future component of this land that was purchased. So the design is, certainly not even begun yet, but that is in the thinking stages, and hopefully in the future, I'm sure the folks up in Jonas Ridge are really excited about that as well.
So who's going to be in charge of building the park facility? Is that us?
That is not part of this bid or anything.
Not
but
part of anything
the
here.
parking and the entrance, exit, et cetera, and the well and septic are all designed with that being part of the future for this location.
So all I'm looking at today is the site itself, the convenience site itself.
Yes, with the paving and the concrete and the attendant building, septic, well, et cetera. This, Scott, if you would, the next slide, please. Okay. There's another slide that includes an elaborate wetlands area right there that actually provides a natural filtration for all the storm water that'll be part of this project. So that's kind of an additional expense, I would guess. that is part of this bid.
So Mark, the parking spaces we see on here are included in this bid, is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Parking spaces that we see on this drawing.
Yes, sir.
Is included with this work,
Yes, sir, that's correct.
even though they will primarily support future things going
Yes,
on.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Mark, who are we gonna be working with on the park?
Again, that's, you know.
The Hills Conservancy possibly?
That's a question maybe Alan can answer. I'll defer to him.
Thank you, Commissioners. When the project was originally request for proposals, McGill Associates and Equinox Environmental were the selected firm most qualified, and they prepared the plans that you see in front of you today. Phase 2 would be a future, park enhancement that we have not contracted for or designed just yet. But we did include a few items in this first phase, such as that the main road access and that parking, the well and other things would also be used for future, as we get there. So we'll come back.
That will come through your department, right?
Yes, sir.
Community Development.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, one of you gentlemen kind of remind me where we are with this. We've been dealing with this 3 years. So I noticed you got a place there to award, funding from the project was not included in this year's budget. So how much was approved, if any, and what's the balance? Where are we really in the dollars and cents?
I would say the funds approved part of this budget were just design monies. We had no idea what the bid would come back, the funds included in this year's budget that were just design funds. We had no idea how the bid would come back, so it's difficult to ask for any funds for anything other than design at that time.
So the entire amount must come out of the general fund.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Mark, I did notice we're leaving the abandoned house standing at this point.
The house, yes. I believe there's some other structures that will be demolished as part of this bid.
I think there's some sheds or something
Yeah.
like that, but the abandoned house will remain standing for now.
Yes, and Alan has asked that we kind of secure it to keep any people from wandering in, or as he said, bears from habitating it, so.
Understand.
One more quick question, if I may. Mark, is this, just for our own benefit, is this pretty much normal for this kind of a project, or are we high or low, or?
Well, I'll be honest with you, this first convenience site I've been a party to construct, and I'm really excited about it, but I'd say, given the market and everything's, all other factors and materials, it's probably pretty comparable.
Okay, thank you.
And Mark, coming out of left field, you mentioned bears. I know at the current location, we've had bear problems. And I don't know if we've had any this year, but I know in prior years we did. Is this going to kind of be bear-proofed?
I'd hope so. There's going to be we're going to have a fence around it. We didn't want to include any barbed wire just because of the appearance, but with the garbage and I imagine the aroma of household waste, it may be enticing. So that's just something we'll have to cross. Maybe we could have open season or something. I don't know.
At least supply some bear spray.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, any other questions or comments?
Mark, do we know how many people use that site up there? Have we kind of measured that?
I don't have that handy, but we have been trying to track, and I hope to have monies to put an actual counter at each of the sites, so that I think that's important information for the board to know which kind of traffic each of the sites has, how their citizens are using them. So I hope to include that at some point.
As that becomes available,
Excuse me?
as that becomes available, those numbers, please share those with us.
Yes, I will. Absolutely.
Any other questions, comments, gentlemen? I know we've all been excited about this project for a long time, so I'm glad to see it coming to fruition.
And we hope to have, before too much longer, East Burke before you. So, thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on items for decision. We'll move on to item number 2, lease extension, Jonas Ridge Convenience Site.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I was so thrilled to be over that one. Yes, the lease extension, I did reach out, finally find a property owner to reach out to, and they are the daughter of the actual property owner who is supposed to get back to me, and I'd asked for a lease that would include an option for additional months if it would become necessary. But based on these bid documents, we hope to be in the new site by May, which will give us plenty of time to vacate that property and be up and running in the other one prior to the end of this budget year. So I hope to hear back and have an actual lease before you real soon.
Questions, comments, gentlemen? That one was quick and painless.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Then, gentlemen, without objection, this item will remain on items for decision. Gentlemen, item number 3, announcement of new county manager and approval of employment agreement. This is a placeholder at this time. Any questions, comments? There being none, without objection, this item will remain on items for decision. Well, gentlemen, that brings us to reports. Please submit those to Kay as soon as they are available. Please, I'll remind everyone, please don't litter, pick up trash, cover your loads. Also, spay and neuter your pets. We've got several upcoming meetings and events. We got a special call meeting at 4 o'clock, and we will take after we adjourn, we'll take a 5-minute break before we call that one back into fruition. Then we have a special call meeting on 11/3 at 8 a.m. at WPCC, Moore Hall, Helmick Seminar Room. We also have a special call meeting for 11/7, 2 p.m., location to be determined. I would remind everyone on November 8th, Election Day, I encourage everyone to get out to vote. It seems like we have a lot of citizens participating already from what I read in the News Herald. Turnout is high. We have our regular call meeting November 15th, 6 p.m. here. We also have a November 18th from 4 to 6 p.m. public service reception for outgoing commissioners Abley and Taylor. The public is invited, and we will have heavy hors d'oeuvres. I will remind everyone that the county offices will be closed November 24th and 25th for Thanksgiving. And as I mentioned before, please submit your reports as are needed by November 7th for inclusion in the agenda packet. Gentlemen, are there any other discussion items?
What's the location of the reception, Mr. Chairman?
It will be here in this room, sir. Thank you for reminding me to say that. We got to show off the new carpet. Any other questions or comments? All right, gentlemen, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor signify with uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk.